Your parents made you, but they don't own you. You're not here to fulfill their unlived life. True awakening is not an escape from yourself, but a return to the one who sees from within. This is the path to the self. This is individuation. Philosophical Grail. Carl Jung called individuation the journey toward wholeness.
People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul.
But this is the moment you stop avoiding. It is not selfishness. It is not pride. It is not about being special. It is the integration of all parts of you, the conscious and the unconscious, the shadow and the light, the inner child and the inner sage, the anima and the animus. Individuation is the alchemy of the soul. It is who you've always been, but forgotten. You are not their project. You are you. But what happens when you realize you've been living someone else's life? When every choice, every belief was built on expectations that were never truly yours? This is the crisis, the moment the mask begins to crack, and you see, maybe for the first time, that the path you follow is not your own. This is where the journey begins, not with perfection, not with clarity, but with a simple, painful truth. I don't know who I am anymore. You think you're a good person? What if I told you there's cruelty inside you? Envy? Even darkness? It's not a sin. It's your shadow. And you will never become yourself until you face it. Carl Jung called the shadow everything we've rejected within ourselves. Everything that doesn't fit the image of a good person. Aggression, sexuality, envy, power, everything you once buried because someone told you that's not allowed. But the shadow doesn't disappear. It lives in the unconscious, and it controls your life if you don't become aware of it. To embrace the shadow is to become whole, because within it lies not only your pain, but also your power. As a child, you learned you can't be angry, you'll be punished. You can't cry, they'll think you're weak. You can't shine, they'll reject you. So you began to hide yourself, just to survive. You became good, quiet, acceptable. But everything you buried stayed inside. It didn't die. It became your shadow. But there's something deeper. You've cut yourself off from your inner soul, the anima or the animus. Have you struggled in relationships? Felt distant, angry, too attached, jealousy, idealizing someone, and then disappointment? It's a sign. Your anima or animus is out of reach. Culture, family, society. They taught men not to feel, women not to be strong. And so, we lost a part of our soul. But your inner image still lives. A voice of love, of feeling, of deep intuition. You may not know its name, but you've always felt it. It lives within you, the shadow of your light. When you cut yourself off from your anima or animus, you don't just lose touch with your feelings. You lose your sexuality, your magnetism, that very alchemy of attraction which binds soul and body together. You begin to search for it outside, in other people, in fantasies, in addictions and mental games. But in truth, what you long for is simply to return to yourself, whole, real. If you feel ready to go deeper, if you want to explore knowledge that's usually kept taboo, follow the link in the description. To survive, you wear a mask. You pretend to be convenient. You adapt. You want to be loved. But the mask is not you. It helps you live among others. But if you identify with it, you lose yourself. At first, the mask is a form of protection, but over time, it turns into a prison. You get used to being someone you're not and start to fear showing your vulnerability. You receive love, but not for who you really are, only for who you pretend to be. The more you realize this, the more loneliness grows inside you. The farther you move away from your shadow and your true self, the more you're overwhelmed by neurosis, anxiety, depression, irritability, and a sense of emptiness. To become yourself, you have to risk being without protection. Only then can you hear the voice of your real self. Only then can you be free. If you opened this video, it wasn't by accident. And if you've watched it this far, it's more than just curiosity. It's a sign from your soul, a signal from your unconscious. You're tired of playing by someone else's script, and you're starting to feel you can't keep doing it anymore. This is where the path begins. Not with techniques, not with books, but with a single, simple step: listening to your inner voice. Sometimes that just means stopping when something doesn't feel right. Not saying yes when inside it's a no. Not betraying yourself day after day. You don't need to change everything all at once. What matters is starting with small steps to return to yourself. When you stop betraying yourself, you begin the path back to who you are. That's individuation. Your choice is a choice in favor of yourself, in favor of your true self. You may be overwhelmed by fear. Fear of getting lost, fear of being rejected, fear that your loved ones won't accept the real you. But the truth is, by choosing yourself, you're not rejecting the world. You're simply no longer betraying your authentic self. This isn't selfishness, it's maturity. People feel when you live sincerely, and your honesty frees them too. The world taught us to work on the outside, but the soul asks for something else. It wants you to become yourself, to remember who you are before the roles, the images, the expectations. This is the most important work in life, and it doesn't begin with grand gestures, but with small steps. Being honest with yourself, listening, feeling, and not turning away. The hero's path is never easy. It begins with letting go of the familiar, the masks that no longer fit, the scripts that aren't yours. You'll have to face your own demons, the fear of rejection, the longing for approval, the illusion of comfort. You'll meet allies. They may come from within, a vision, a voice, a memory, or from the outside, people, events, words that awaken you. Every great journey begins with a call, and at some point, you won't be able to ignore it any longer. You start to notice everything seems connected. Someone calls at just the right moment. A line from a book hits you like a personal message. Numbers, dreams, coincidences, they seem to be guiding you. This is synchronicity. This line reminds us, signs are always around, but you'll only see them once you truly begin to hear yourself. These are not accidents. This is the language of your unconscious. It's the soul calling you home. And you're learning to listen, to trust that inner voice and follow it. This path is described in myths, legends, and religions. It's been called the hero's journey, the call of the inner wanderer, the ascent of the spirit. Jung called it individuation, the return to wholeness. And Joseph Campbell wrote, "Follow your bliss, and the universe will open doors for you where there were only walls." But before that comes the break, the point of no return. That inner voice, long ignored, begins to speak louder. You can choose to stay the same in a life that doesn't fulfill you, chasing approval and success. But will that truly bring you joy? Selfishness is betraying your true self. Wearing a mask, that is the real selfishness toward yourself. Not toward the world, not toward others, but toward yourself. Now close your eyes and ask yourself, who am I?